Welcome everyone to the Creator Hub in our inaugural year. We're so excited to have you here. We're joined today by a true pioneer of the modern media landscape. Recently named in the Forbes 30 Under 30 Europe list, Grace Andrews is an expert at turning creators into entrepreneurs. Across LinkedIn, Instagram and YouTube, she's a leading voice for over 300,000 followers, sharing the no-hype truth about brand building and creator economy. Grace is also the co-founder of Community Service, a Substack covering creative strategy that's become a bestseller within its first 24 hours. She also runs Launchpad, a program that empowers employees to become corporate creators. And before building her own business ecosystem and partnering with brands like Adobe, Meta, Canva, Grace was the brand director for a little-known brand called Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO. Grace, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, we're super excited to have you here, and we do have a Slido. So obviously I have my questions, but I really want you guys to get the use of Grace's expertise. So please send them in. The details are behind us on the screen over there, and I'll be checking periodically. But to start us off, Grace, Forbes highlighted that you're specifically focused on turning creators into entrepreneurs. So many established creators in the room feel like they've built a following, but they don't yet have a business. Based on your philosophy that influence means people like you, but authority means people buy from you, what's the first structural change a creator needs to make to stop chasing views and start building an enterprise?
So the creator economy is, obviously you've been sat at this stage all day, I'm sure you've heard these stats being rolled out. But the creator economy is due to be a $500 billion industry by 2027. That was a stat that came out with Goldman Sachs in 2024 and just recently been confirmed that all growth is on track at the start of this year. So when you think about it like that, for me, that number, that signal says the power and the control is sitting in the hands of the creators. But then I look at the creators every day on the platforms, I look at the creators that I work with, and I go, you guys don't have any power here at all. You're sitting here at the helm of the platforms because you're ultimately in the business of views. And what I do through my work and through my educational content and my training is help creators understand that they need to use views to enable their business as opposed to just being in the business of views. So what does that mean in terms of structural shift? It means we're no longer just creating content for likes, for views, for followers. We're creating content with the aim of it laddering up to serious business metrics. Because the word that's been sort of dropped off in the last few years from social media is marketing. Content is marketing. It's a really incredibly powerful channel within our marketing strategy. And the word that's dropped is marketing. It's social media marketing. So what creators need to do is stop creating content for attention, for validation, for likes, and think, where's the business opportunity here? I've got one of the most powerful things of all time, which is audience, and audience is trust, which most brands, production companies, businesses would kill for. They've got audience and trust at their fingertips, but they still don't know how to turn that into a monetizable career opportunity. But they look at the likes of Alex Earle, Emma Chamberlain, Mr. Beast, and they know that the opportunity is there. They just don't know how to shift this addiction to views and the platform giving them validation to the business opportunity, which is, okay, what do I need to build here? What do I want to create? And how can I use my content to ladder up to those business goals? How can I use my content to drive views that makes decisions for people to purchase the product, the creation, the opportunity, the course, whatever the business is? It needs to become a tool in your marketing toolkit as opposed to the end product. And so that's what I'm sort of working with creators to help them understand. They have this incredible, powerful opportunity, which is audience who are willing to buy, but a misunderstanding of what content is there to do. And content has got to be there to drive a means to an end, to drive people to a destination, to purchase something, to become aware of something, to buy into something, to share something. It's not the end product itself. So the structural change I am advising with creators is, one, you need to get really clear on what the thing is you want to build besides the content. What is the product? What is the business? What do you want to build that is so much bigger than the content opportunity? Second, a team. Creators are amazing at creating content, at driving views, at understanding audience, and building trust. What they tend not to know about is building a business, right? They haven't done it before. It's why we see so many brands pop up and fail within 12 months. Because they think they know audience and that's all they need to know. But the reality is, as we all know, a business takes infrastructure, it takes strategy, it takes long-term thinking. And so my second recommendation is always, we need to bring in the right people here. I've seen it happen time and time and time again when creators bring in the wrong people who don't understand the creator world, who don't understand the creator economy, and they think sticking their face on a product is going to sell it. But ultimately, the creator has built trust with the audience and they trust them. So the creator has to be 100% behind whatever is being built. And the business people who understand business need to come on board to understand that. So surrounding yourself with people who get it and the right people is what I've seen sort of take a creator from someone who monetizes through brand partnerships to someone who's building multi-million-dollar media empires, like your Alex Els and your Mr. Beasts, for example. So for me, it's like, get really clear on what you're building, understand that content isn't just the product, it's the means to the end of the business. It's got to drive upwards into business goals. And surround yourself with great business people. Let the creator sort of be the creator, do what they do best, but you've got to surround yourself with smart business experience people if you really want to build and scale beyond yourself.
Completely. Let's talk about Launchpad. So through your Launchpad program, you help employees become corporate creators. For the traditional production companies and broadcasters here, there's often a fear that talent becomes bigger than the brand. Why should media companies in 2026 embrace their staff building personal brands rather than trying to gatekeep them?
So I guess we addressed the elephant in the room, because I am the talent who built the brand and then left. But what I'll say to that is, when I was within the business, I was with the Diary of a CEO for 5 years. Me building a brand within the walls of that business made me the biggest magnet for recruitment. I hired directly through my own channels more people within my team than any other means. I was able to amplify launches and moments in a way that a branded channel could never. I took audiences behind the scenes of what we were creating, which built trust, which built audience retention, which became a marketing channel and one of our most powerful marketing channels in itself. And it was something where within the business I was able to amplify everything we were doing and actually created an entire employee ambassador scheme, which meant when we did launch something, everybody on LinkedIn knew about it. People used to joke saying, have you been on LinkedIn today because have you seen what Diary of a CEO have done? Because every single employee in the team would share their take about that launch. And we all know people buy from people. We know people care about the people inside of the brands. All of the studies are showing that people want you to take you inside. They don't want to see the product. They want to see how you made the product. And that's what we did. And so my voice on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and where I was encouraged to build on stages like this, was an amplification of the brand. And ultimately, the brand looked at me and knew that because this is how businesses work, unless you're on some incredible form of equity, employees are going to leave. That's not a creator economy problem. That's a business situation. That's a business reality. Employees are going to leave. So would you rather have that person build a brand while they're with you in your walls, or have them leave and go and build them within someone else's? Because ultimately, whilst I was there, not only did I deliver on my contract, I brought in incredible recruits who are still working at the business. I was able to drive sales that we could identify back to my own channels as the one who was driving them. We had loads of product lines. We had all sorts of ticket sales and all sorts of things that we would be selling. And so I was delivering my contract and more in the time that I was there. So when businesses say to me that their biggest fear is the employee leaving, I say, surely the biggest fear is them leaving and going doing all of this at your competitor. So what we do with Launchpad is it's an employee ambassador business. We have been so overwhelmed with the response, and it really confirmed my view on employee ambassadors. I did one LinkedIn post last year, and our entire waitlist for 2027 was full, and we are now fully booked up until the start of next year. From your legacy retailers in the... I can't name names because we're in current contracts with them. Your legacy retailers in the UK have been around for hundreds of years. the biggest tech platforms you can think of, the startup AI companies, they are all investing in our program, which is to enable the voices within their company to have a platform. Because what they've realized is that employees are the sort of most untapped potential opportunity that so many businesses are sitting on. And only yesterday, I had one of the, I'm not going to say the name, but if you think one of the biggest social media platforms that exist reach out and say, we want our executive team to all have a voice on LinkedIn because we understand that's how we're going to communicate it from a B2B perspective. So it's happening from like your startups who are scaling from day one and need to get their voice heard to the legacy businesses who are wondering how to keep up. You only have to look at the job roles PayPal, for example, has put out for a founder, I don't know what they've called it, founder brand amplifier, paying them $300,000 for someone to come and build the founder's brand because they know that's going to be more powerful marketing channel than the logo branded channels themselves. People buy from people. They want to see behind the scenes. They want to build trust and they want to connect with what's happening behind the scenes. It's an incredible platform channel opportunity for recruitment. So yeah, I did leave. So many of the team are still there who are still building, still amplifying, still connecting, still scaling through a really powerful means. And I now go on and help other businesses do the same thing. But I think it's funny when people get scared about the leaving thing because people leave businesses all the time. That's a HR problem. It's a recruitment problem. It's nothing to do with the creator economy, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial for everybody.
100%.
Let's talk about community service, your Substack, which became a bestseller in just 24 hours. Well done. For new creators who feel the market is saturated or oversaturated in 2026, you've often argued that the problem isn't a lack of space, but an action problem, to use your words. What is your advice for someone who's starting today on how to identify a gap in the market that audiences will actually pay to support?
Quoting me saying it's an action problem is a very polite way of saying what I usually say, which is I think it's you're lazy. If someone comes to me and says, oh, the platforms are so saturated, I haven't started, I don't know what to do, I go, you're being lazy. Let's be honest, because we all have phones at our fingertips. We have the opportunity to start creating today. It's free. The only thing that costs money is the device, which probably most of us have. So you're actually just making up excuses and you're scared to start. Because the reality is the person who wasn't scared to start 6 months is now 6 months ahead of learning and figuring out where the opportunity is, and you're 6 months late. Whatever I say to creators who come to me and they say, or brands who come to me and say, I don't know where to start, I feel stuck, I don't know where the opportunity is, I have a sort of framework or a framework or a model that I run through with them. It's called GPS, the idea that gives you direction. So the G is the gap. And most people think the gap is the topic. Most people think, I've got to figure out what topic I've got to talk about. The gap is not the topic. The gap is the person who you're trying to solve the problem for. So the gap is the person who is underserved currently with the opportunity. 9 times out of 10, the creator will look to themselves and think, what problems are not being served for me currently on the internet? And I'm going to go and solve that problem. That's what happens 9 out of 10 times. My own experiences are going to fuel the gap here because I don't feel like my problem is being served. Or they'll look to a family member or a close friend or someone who feels very underserved and they'll go, I'm going to create with that person in mind. That is the gap. Every topic is covered on the internet. You can find an answer to every single topic on TikTok, on YouTube, on Substack, whatever it is. But there is always a person who doesn't feel seen and doesn't feel heard, and that's your gap, that's your opportunity. If we go into the P for GPS, P is perspective. Only you have your perspective. Your lived experience, what you've been through is your unique opportunity. That's where your unique perspective can come through. So for community service, for example, I have this unique perspective where I worked as the brand director at one of the fastest growing media companies where we serviced and grew IP for creators. And now I am a creator who grows my own company and my own IP. So I've seen both sides of it. I've been the brand side and I've been the creator side. So when it came to community service, we didn't think, oh, there are so many newsletters on the creator economy, there's no space for us. Jordan and I went, we've both got these unique perspectives where we can bring something new and we're going to service the people who we don't feel are being serviced. So we gap is the people, P is the perspective, and S, so lame, but it's just start. You've got to start, because the only way you're going to learn is if you start today and start to get the feedback. You have to start to go, what do people want? What don't people want? What are my audience saying they resonate with them? What doesn't? What is getting loads of reach? What isn't? That's when you really find what the opportunity is in this saturated market. But I always think it's funny, because just think about different industries. Think about publishing, for example. Imagine if an author came to a book publisher and they went, you know what? We don't need any more authors. It's so saturated. When was the last time you went in a bookshop? Do you know how many books there are in the world? Millions. But publishers aren't turning down authors because there are too many. Think about all of these industries, all of these categories. Beauty, for example. You would have thought we probably don't need another lip gloss out there, right? Do you know how many lip glosses have been launched in the last year? Hundreds, if not thousands. There is always room, if you're looking for the person you want to solve for, bringing your unique perspective and just getting started, because that's how you're going to learn. So GPS, that's where the opportunity is.
And Grace, I know you're a real proponent of long-form content.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that. You've said the goal is memorable minutes and not forgettable seconds. So in an industry currently obsessed with short clips, why is your playbook doubling down on the idea that long-form is the way to build loyalty?
So my belief is that we've seen the peak of short-form content. So over lockdown, over that time when TikTok emerged as a platform, we were all stuck inside. Everyone thought they were a creator. Everyone wanted to post the dances. Everyone wanted that little hit of dopamine when things outside were just really shit. We saw TikTok emerge and blow up. And then Instagram went, oh my God, that's where everyone's spending their time. We're going to do short form as well. They introduced Reels, so much backlash, and then everyone's obsessed with it. YouTube goes, whoa, we've only ever done long form. We need to start doing short form too. Then all the platforms start doing kind of the same thing. And I can say that having currently with partnerships with YouTube and with Meta, and I will still say that. They all started doing the same thing, serving the same sort of content. And so what people started doing is they started trying to get your attention as quickly as humanly possible. They would say crazy, outrageous things. They would do crazy, outrageous things. It was overwhelming. It still is overwhelming. It's overstimulating. And it's designed to keep you addicted in the platform. The platforms love it because you're spending more and more time in the platform. But the reality is, if you go home tonight and you spend half an hour scrolling on one of these platforms, and I asked you, what was the favourite video you saw? Tell me a fact that you learned. Who was the favourite creator you scrolled past? You probably wouldn't be able to tell me. Because the way it's designed is not for us to retain anything, but for us to be addicted to it. For us to keep consuming and just keep our attention there. And so my belief is that we've seen the peak of that. People are overwhelmed by it. They're exhausted by it. They're bored of it. They're bored of being fooled and tricked into consuming something that doesn't make sense. And so what we're seeing is this rebellion against it. We're seeing brands and creators go, I'm going to turn the other direction here. I'm going to bring context back into the conversation. I'm going to bring nuance back into the conversation. I'm going to bring art back into the conversation. And they're slowing things down. I mean, podcasts as an industry has not shifted at all. Yes, we saw this spike in lockdown where everyone started a podcast and got to episode 3 and then forgot about it. Now they've all been cleared out of the platform, so there was a bit of a weird spike in the graphs because there was a clear out of them. But the industry itself is still booming, and that's because people crave and are interested and care about long-form conversations. They want to be part of a conversation. They want to hear conversation. And so what we're seeing is this shift away from this clickbaity, rage-baity, short-form content that people are bored of and they don't buy into and they don't believe, to this emergence of slowing down into long-form conversation, whether that's through video on YouTube, which is the most watched platform, the most streamed platform, above all of the other streaming platforms. If you think Netflix, think anyone else, all your other platforms, YouTube is still the platform where people are streaming the most every single day. Think Substack, one of the fastest growing newsletter platforms, where people are just creating space for long-form conversation. The reason I'm investing in it so heavily, the reason why YouTube is a priority for me, the reason Substack is a priority for me is simple. If my audience consume 2 of my pieces of content on Instagram or TikTok this week, they might spend, on average, according to the data, 20 seconds with me. Because my average watch time might be anywhere between 10 and 15 seconds. I produce 2 pieces of content. They've spent up to maximum 30 seconds with me a week. On YouTube, I share videos that are up to an hour long. My average watch time on YouTube is between 20 and 30 minutes. one video on YouTube can result in 20 to 30 minutes of an audience spent with me versus an Instagram reel. On Instagram, it might take 6 months, if not a year, for someone to spend 30 minutes with me. So for me, it feels really obvious. If I need people to spend time with me to build trust, and trust is the ultimate currency we're all trying to build for, the obvious answer is to go for the long form option where people are spending time with you for longer. And that's where I'm investing my time into, because my goal is not to just create audience growth at all costs. That doesn't matter to me. My goal is to build really deep, entrenched, loyal audience members who ultimately will become customers to whatever I bring out. So I'm really, really investing in long form because I want people to spend time with me. And I'm doing that at an exponentially faster rate on a long form platform than a short form platform. And so that's why brands are starting to invest in it. That's why creators are thinking it's interesting, because instead of getting 10 seconds of their audience's attention a week, they're getting minutes, and minutes that if I asked you about in a week's time, you'd still remember. So that's why I'm all in on long form.
Just like to remind you, the Slido is open, so get your questions in because we're running out of time shortly. Grace, reflecting on your journey from Diary of a CEO to now, where you have your own platform, you've noted that the power shift from platforms to people is massive. It's seismic. If there's one thing that this audience must accept about the next phase of the creator economy to stay relevant, what do you think it is?
I don't know if this is controversial or punchy, but creators do and will hold all the power. Ultimately, every trajectory, every statistic, every metric is pointing in that direction because creators own the audiences, they own distribution, and they own trust. It's something that brands are so envious of, production companies are so envious of, streaming companies are so envious of, because creators have instant access to distribution. It's why we're seeing creators appear in new shows, because they know that that show is going to be amplified to an existing audience. It's why we're seeing brands being built with creators, because they have distribution built into them. So creators hold all the power, and they are going to continue to hold all the power because of this built-in distribution system. It's taking companies, businesses, brands a long time to wake up to that. And I truly believe that the ones who are still considering working with creators, or wondering how they fit into their strategy, or wondering which ones to work with, or how does this industry even work, are the companies and businesses that are going to be left behind. So my, strong take is that creators do hold all the power, and businesses and brands have got to understand how to incorporate them into the strategy that works for them. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not gift them a load of product or bring them on these expensive brand trips. It's how can you build with them in mind, knowing that they've got built-in distribution, which is the hardest thing to gather in 2026 when we're living in this sort of attention economy where trust is the currency.
Completely. I think we have 1 minute left, so pithy answer for this one, if that's okay. You love to talk about the messy middle, the kind of unpolished, difficult reality of building a business. In a creator culture that often glamorizes hustle on one side, aesthetic on the other, what's your actual view of work-life balance?
It doesn't exist. Non-existent. Okay. I can do this really quickly. One of the most frustrating terms to me is work-life balance, because you're putting work up against life. The reality is life is an all-encompassing circle and work is one element of it. The idea that we would seesaw these two things against each other, especially in a world where so many people are creating careers around their life, it simply doesn't make sense to have a weight in either hand. So instead, I see work as one of the most important features within my life right now, as well as my relationships, as well as my hobbies, as well as all my other things that make up my life. And I think that visual is much more helpful. When I was forced to see the two against each other, I personally really struggled as someone who's very, very driven in my career, because I couldn't see why I was having to weight the two things against each other when I wanted to make it all work together. So for me, my work is a big prominent feature within my life. And all of these things come in ebbs and flows, right? There are going to be moments when that feature is more prominent than other features. I have a strong belief. I believe what Emma Greed says is that you can have it all. You just can't have it all at once. And so I'm ebbing and flowing through that journey. But strong disbeliever, not that that's a word, in work-life balance.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Grace. If you could help me thank Grace.
Thank you
for joining us today. Thank you, everybody.